With so many amazing species of reptiles inhabiting the forests of Asia, we tend to forget one of the most unique of them all, the blood python. But in this video, we're going to learn all about and introduce you to the amazing blood python. And be sure to stick around for the entire video because we have some amazing facts that we need to discuss about this animal. This is Animal Steam Exotic. Let's get started. All right, guys, this particular blood python is an ivory morph blood python. Now, the blood python comes from Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. In fact, they actually call them blood pythons because of that beautiful reddish brown coloration on their skin. All right, guys, just take a look at how beautiful this snake is. This morph of a blood python is called an ivory blood python. You can't find this morph in the wild, but in captivity, you could breed them to be this color. Just look at how amazing she is. No fear, no anger. Just a truly beautiful animal like snakes truly are. All right, guys, you may have already noticed this, but take a look at how large this snake is. Blood pythons aren't long like the reticulated pythons or even the yellow anaconda, but just look at how large her body is. They get up to about 3 to 5 feet as males, but females outsize the males. They can reach up to lengths of 6 feet and weigh up to 30 pounds. So these differences in size based on their sex makes them sexually dimorphic. There's also a big difference between this snake and the snakes that you've seen on the show previously. These snakes don't move very much. They're not like the yellow anaconda that's constantly moving around quickly or the reticulated python that's constantly cruising the ground. These snakes are very, very sedentary. They don't move very much, and you can see why. Their body is so heavy, they don't want to move that much. Snakes and any reptile in general tire out very easily. So when your body is heavy like this, you don't want to move very much because you want to conserve energy. Moving around all day long will tire you out. You'll have no stamina. So you need to stay still as long as you can to save that precious energy, being this heavy. Now, in their native range, you can find these snakes more commonly in palm oil plantations. That's because they have a wide food source in these palm oil plantations made by people. And this food source is mostly rats, mice, and sometimes occasionally birds. Now, the rats will come and eat the fallen fruit from the palm fruit trees. And then, of course, the snakes will be there waiting for them. So this makes an excellent supply of food for them, and it's a good environment for them to sit and lie in wait for prey to come to them. Now, these snakes are equipped with a forked tongue that helps them to pick up scent particles in the air and along the ground of prey that passes by. So they can detect if something's edible just by tasting the scent particles in the air. They also have heat-sensing pits at the end of their face that helps them to detect the body heat of animals. And since they hunt in low light, they use these heat-sensing pits to detect the body heat of an animal, so they don't actually have to see the animal in order to strike them. But if they come in range, they detect that body heat and they can strike them accurately without actually seeing them. Now, as we've mentioned before, these snakes are heavy-bodied, but their prey can be quick. So how do they really catch their food if they're so heavy? These snakes are ambush predators, remember that. And living in the palm oil plantations works to their advantage. As we mentioned before, the rats will come to eat the fallen fruit from the palm trees, but the snake will be there waiting for them. Now, as we mentioned before, these snakes are heavy-bodied, but these snakes don't have a problem with catching their food because they can sit motionless just like this for days if they have to until unsuspecting prey passes by. They can wait just like this for days on the forest floor and use their skin as camouflage on the forest leaf litter, and they'll wait until a rat or a bird comes passing by, and then out of nowhere, they'll come out of this still pose and strike out with explosive power, wrap that upper body around the animal, and they're dead. And if any of you have seen a blood python strike, it's startling. You don't expect an animal this slow, seemingly slow, to be so explosive in power. But that's how deceptive these animals are. They can sit like this for days if they have to, wait for that animal to pass by, use that forked tongue to pick up their scent, boom. That's it. Then this sedentary snake isn't so sedentary anymore. Okay guys, it's time for a quiz. True or false? a snake's tail is its entire body. That's false. That's an old wives' tale. Snakes have a tail, but it doesn't make up their entire body. So, let me show you where their tail actually begins and ends. This opening is called the vent. It's where they defecate. The tail begins after the vent and goes to the very tip. The tail begins here and ends at the tip. This is the snake's entire tail. All right, guys, we know these snakes are beautiful, but they're still facing two modern threats that we should all be aware of. Let's get to it. All right, guys, we know that these animals have beautiful skin, but we also know that when an animal has something beautiful, humans want a piece of that beauty too. These snakes are being heavily exploited due to the rising demand in Indonesia for snakeskin leather goods, such as purses, belts, and shoes, just like the reticulated python. And because of this intense demand for their skin, these snakes are becoming very hard to find in the wild now. They're very elusive as it is, but their numbers are declining, so it's hard to find them living in their native habitat now. So these snakes are in danger, even though they're not endangered. And then, guys, people are killing these snakes every single day for their meat. They're being killed to be put in soups, cooked, you name it. So that's another threat these snakes are facing. And then, of course, you have the threat of deforestation. The snake's home is being replaced by the palm oil plantations we mentioned earlier. But at the same time, these palm oil plantations help to feed the snakes because all of the rats and mice that come to feed on the fruits that fall from the trees end up feeding the snakes. But then the snakes congregate in these palm oil plantations, and this is where hunters look to find them. So these snakes can be captured much easier living in these palm oil plantations where people know they'll be looking for food. So these snakes have a lot of threats heading their way, and they're not going anywhere. All right, guys, in this video, we've learned a lot about the blood python. We learned about their special abilities, how they hunt. We've also learned about the threats that they're facing in the modern world. But be sure to comment down below, give us a fact about blood pythons, and be sure to comment and let us know what animal you want to see on the channel next time. All right, guys, this is Animal Team Exotic. We'll see you next time.